You ready? All right. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome back. It's good to be here with you today. As I stated in my opening, well, I guess you call that a monologue. It is beautiful here today. The weather is crisp and feels like fall. It feels like Sukkot is what it feels like. So we're going to continue to pray that remains the case throughout the next week and into the weekend for our festivities here. Before we get into the dialogue, I was going to ask John to say a couple of things about his daughter in Japan. Give us an update on that, if you don't mind.
We talked to her this morning, which was evening time. First of all, I want to thank everybody that did the prayers on the prayer requests, not just me, but Lyndon as well. You know, it doesn't matter if it's us or somebody else or some other plan that the Creator has, but it started out to be what we would call a Cat 5 hurricane. It's a typhoon over there, and it was a big one, a super. And then right before it hit, it dropped down to what we would call a Category 3, so the impact was a little bit less, although they did get 30 inches of rain in one day.
Yeah.
And fortunately, they're not flat like Louisiana, so they didn't have to bob to the surface.
Yeah.
They got a lot of hills over there. So anyway.
She's in Japan. Where at in Japan?
She's in the southeast section. She's right across the bay from Tokyo.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a bridge that goes there. You can drive around the bay to get to Tokyo. She's teaching over there, and has been there the better part of a year. Anyway, I want to thank everybody. It looks like when we talked to her this morning, they were in the eye of the storm, and the winds were starting to pick up. So the rain has subsided, and the winds were picked up, and that was scaring a little bit. On top of the fact they had a earthquake, and only had one casualty just a little south of her that she knew of, where the wind blew a car over with a guy in it. So that's pretty good wind. And so anyway, we'll talk later, our evening, her morning, and see how she weathered during the night. She's a pretty tough kid, so her spirits are good. And I just want to thank everybody, and God bless you all.
So keep Laura in your prayers. And again, she's a good Southern girl that's used to hurricanes. So
Oh, yeah.
she's probably coaching some of these other people on.
It's those earthquakes that shake her up.
Yeah. We don't get a lot of
We don't
earthquakes
get a lot
here,
of
thankfully.
earthquakes.
She got John for a dad, so you know.
That's
She's
right.
like a commando, so she's pretty tough.
She's like a black belt, however many
Yeah,
degrees.
she has a black belt and belts in various other martial arts. Her sister's a martial arts instructor. Her twin is a martial arts instructor. These kids started, roping and riding and learning how to shoot guns from the time they could walk.
Yeah.
So they can track and kill and clean and eat, and they'll be all right. Except for something with the hand of God.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
And so all you can do is hope and pray.
So keep this in your prayer, and look, we sometimes have these natural disasters, and we know them here in Louisiana. We've all had to deal with that. And so anyway, I'm extremely pleased to hear a positive report on that. I'm also very, very excited about the conference this week. We're going to have people begin to start showing up, I think, Thursday evening. Some are actually coming in a bit early. But Friday is the real kickoff. There's not going to be, other than just informal gathering up here at the building Friday night. We'll have some opening comments and things like that, but we really want people just to come in, and we'll have some finger foods and things like that Friday night, and just kind of welcome people to our little town. Saturday we'll have a couple of talks, but we'll have these booths set up. Lots and lots of fellowship, lots of downtime, good interaction, some music, some food, some fun. We'll have a morning session, an evening session in the tent, and then Sunday we'll also have some things. And there's going to be a premiere that I can't even announce yet. I mean, I don't know. You know how somebody says, look, don't tell anybody, and you think, well, I wonder if they meant don't tell anybody. So we have surprises planned for the weekend, and so I'm looking forward to that.
People who are listening in that can't be here are
Don't tell
wondering,
anybody,
are you going to
but
live stream it?
Yeah, we're gonna try to live stream. We're gonna try to live stream as much as we can. That's easy for me to say. It's tougher for Dave, who has to pull it off. But we're going to set this big tent up in the parking lot behind us in our building, and that's mainly because we can comfortably sit. I don't know,
50, 60.
maybe 60.
How many chairs you got?
Well, we've got enough seating for 60. But remember that fire marshal. Remember, he said no more than 50, and we said yeah, whatever. So.
Did I mention I can't count?
Yeah.
I think you think we can have a little bit more as long as we use that door.
He did, yeah. So anyway, we're going to do what we have to do, but we have this tent. We're going to have 100 chairs out here. We've got more than 60 inside the building. So between now and Friday, not only do I have to pray about, research, and get a talk ready, I've got an idea, but I also have to have this building transformed, have a tent set up, probably do 2 recordings with Jono Vandor, and my wife's birthday is tomorrow, and my son's birthday is Monday night. Other than that, I'm just going to have a nice cakewalk between now and Thursday.
And my mom's 104th.
That's right. That's
the
right.
16th, and the party's 17th, so I'll be real busy.
Morgan here still has their extra room. It's a Best Western.
That's right. That was a very kind offer. Morgan and Nita had originally, there was another person that was coming, a dear friend of ours who can't come. They still have the room. So they offered, look, if you're not coming because you can't afford the room, and that could be someone. I've been in that place before, and it's easy for me here because my house is right around the corner, but if that's the reason someone's not coming and they could otherwise join us, send me a message or send Morgan a message, and we'll make that happen.
And his wife, Sandy?
Nita.
Nita
Yeah.
are coming?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh,
and
that's
Sandy's
great.
coming as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
But he's
Sandy.
going to give it up Monday. Monday, he's going to release it back.
He's got to let it go at some
Right,
point,
right.
you know, or it just goes to no one. But if you want it, if you're thinking, man, I would come if I could, and so please let us know. We don't want someone to not be able to come. It's one of the reasons that we don't charge a registration. You know, I mean, we bring in some pretty hard hitters in terms of speakers, from the Tylers to Tabor and Ralph Bunton and other people come in, Jodell. But we never really charge because we want people to come and just fellowship and have free access to the Creator. We don't own any, you know, we're not taking admission
So
prices.
Not to mention, contributions are always accepted.
What's that?
Yeah,
Not to mention, contributions are always
for
accepted.
sure.
Oh yeah, no
Our
doubt,
costs.
because we have some great expenses. What was?
Did you answer Shirley Gibson's question about will there be a normal Saturday morning teaching?
There will be, Tabor is going to teach the morning slot. We'll publish plenty of time beforehand.
It won't be normal, but it'll be normal.
Yeah, right.
It'll be at the regular time, but it'll be special.
It may be at the regular time. We'll have
Maybe
to,
not.
but we'll post times and sessions so that everyone knows. But there will be a session Saturday morning. There will be a session Saturday evening. And then during the day, we're going to have all sorts of things. And so we'll get a lot of that videoed as well. Some of it will be in here. Some of it will be out in the tent. So again,
Internet
willing, if things are not able to be broadcast live, which you never know, if they're not, we'll do them, we'll publish them later as recorded sessions. So
Along the same lines from what Ross is talking about, for those that are coming, just to let you know, whether you can or cannot, you know, don't have a lot of money, yes or no. Sherry's taking care of lunch on Saturday. Ross had me go down and make sure that I booked a dinner out that I'll pick up on Saturday for when we take the break from the tent.
takeout.
Takeout. I'm going to get the takeout and bring it here.
Yep.
and it's all vegetarian, so nobody should have any worries there.
Yeah,
It's all Middle Eastern, so it's kind of like Israel.
yeah.
And,
We're ordering takeout, just to clarify,
Right,
from the
ordering
Lebanese restaurant up the road.
Greek or Lebanese, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Sunday, I've got lunch covered. So, and then I think we're going to do something like pizzas or whatever, who's here on Sunday night. So, if that's a issue also along the lines of the hotel, don't let that stop you.
And if I could say, I had talked about Friday night, Saturday, I will set up a salad bar. I'll do the tubs of ice with lettuce balls. If people want to contribute their favorite toppings for the salad,
Right.
to do that. And I think JoJo has put on Facebook like a sign-up page on United Israel.
Right.
On who can bring what. So if we could get that going, I think we could have a pretty awesome salad bar for Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, I normally don't even mention money, but I will say, just so that you know, number one, don't not come. Can you say, is that double negative?
It's
Don't,
okay. We
don't
understand.
not come. Don't let your lack of funds keep you from coming.
There you go.
We will feed you. We'll find a way to make all of that kind of stuff happen.
Get here if you can, in other words.
Get here if you can. Look, I
And
mean,
hang out.
yeah,
Just
just
come
hang
on.
out
You're
with us.
one of
It's
the
going to be
tribe.
fun.
And you shall rejoice.
That's right.
It's a
Friday
commandment to
Friday
rejoice.
night, be here by Friday evening, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Things will start breaking up Monday morning. But then for those who want to contribute, like my vision of getting this big tent, the tent is $1,551. So we do have expenses. So if somebody says, hey, I want to help with expenses, you can make a donation. But don't think you have to. Look, it's going to be fine. We're good. So we want you to be here. That's the main thing. And we really, Sherry nailed it. Sukkot, there is a command to rejoice. I mean, think about that. You're supposed to rejoice for 7 days. What if people actually could rejoice for one day? Just start with one. And then they said, wait a minute, it's a commandment to rejoice for 7 days. What if that were turned into 8 days? How about 2 weeks? What about a month? What if we got to the place in the world where it was a constant rejoicing and worship of the Creator?
Yes.
Look, this is what the world is going to, whether it knows it or not. Kicking and screaming, the inhabitants of this planet, those who rejoice will be around to see the new creation.
That
So,
reminds me of that song. This is the day. This
yeah, there
is
you
the
go.
day that Yahweh
We're gonna
has
have
made,
we're gonna have music
and
too.
we
By the
shall
way,
rejoice.
we'll have music, we'll have singing.
Of course, the Tylers will be here.
Yeah, and again, people don't have to sing, but you can
You
sing.
can sing in your hearts.
That's right. You can dance. You can whatever.
But some of us are only allowed to sing in the shower.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. And look, just to let you know, the theme of Sukkot is going to be everywhere. We're going to be talking about, I'm sure that a lot of the people here are going to be engaging in discussions about the festivals and about Sukkot. If you've never been here before, you get to see our beautiful Torah scroll. You know, Simchat Torah actually follows on the Jewish calendar. It's not a biblical festival, but it follows the festival of Sukkot. And I've actually got in my scratch pad that we might do something with our Torah scroll here as well. We're going to have a visit to the synagogue here in town where Roots of Faith, remember Roots of Faith? We started off there. We're going to tour that Sunday and all sorts of fun stuff in between. I've got, by the way, I have 100, let's see, 100 wooden, a mezuzah. This is just a blank mezuzah. It's got the pre-drilled holes. It's got a place in the back for the scroll. And these are just made of wood. We're going to have a station set up so that if anyone doesn't have a mezuzah and they want a mezuzah, we'll have it where you can paint it, stain it, decorate it. I'll get my wife to help me get the supplies for that. and people can have a mezuzah, because a lot of people may not have that. And,
What do we do then, Cub Scouts?
yeah, like yeah.
Pine
Pine box dirt. It looks a little bit like it, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
we put a wheel with it.
But we'll let you decorate
small.
these up. If somebody has a wood burning kit and they want to loan it to us,
We have a wood
Do you?
burner, don't we?
there you
Yeah,
go.
we
It's
put
a
little
little-
pencils in it.
Yeah, that's
So
what
bring
a
it.
wood
Yeah,
burner
we'll
is.
let people.
I
You can
have some
decorate these
paints,
up.
too, that I'll
Okay.
contribute a little.
So we really want people to come and leave with more than they arrived with. Like we have some books here. We have the copies of several of the books of our friends. We'll get Jodelle to bring some copies of her book for those that want it. We've got a few copies of Ralph's book here, the Book of David. I might have a few copies of RAF. And I know we've got some copies of Dr. Eisenman's book that we would be happy to share with the people that come. So it's
Get 2 for 1.
2 for 1. It's going to be an incredible time. And if you're on the fence, if you're thinking, I should go, but I don't know, I've got something better to do on the weekend. First of all, that can't be true. You can't have anything better than this.
Right.
And if you can't come, if you just can't come, we're going to try to include you because of the wonderful miracle of modern technology. So,
And Joanne, we need to set her aside one of the mezuzahs and bring to Charlotte.
all right, good deal.
Yep.
Good deal.
I mentioned Lyndon, one of the portable Hanukkah boxes.
Yeah.
For Joanne.
Yep, and that's the other thing is that Lyndon she's got this really cool idea. Did she find that on Pinterest or did she make it up?
I forget, it's been so long ago, she made them, she got the idea and was making them for us. We'd go someplace, and sundown's happening on Hanukkah, and you're going, well, gee, we're not at home, what do we? We would set this portable Hanukkah box up and put candles in it on the dash of our car, and it looks kind of weird, but,
Yeah,
and we would light the Hanukkah candles right there in the car.
yeah.
Yeah.
Windshield or nothing, did it?
So if anyone has any
Little tiny
empty
candles.
Altoid boxes,
Yeah.
metal tins that you want to contribute.
But she's got a whole batch of those,
Okay.
so she's got all the stuff she's gonna have ready, so, hey, come, have fun, fellowship, get to know your tribe.
Yeah, people have asked, what do I bring? And the answer is you really don't have to bring anything.
You
Just
should
show
dress,
up.
though, wear clothes.
Another thing, talking about dress, Bridget asked me last night, she's kind of kicked off this photography business of hers, and she sent me, I hadn't even looked at it yet, but late last night when I got in, she told me that she had sent me a message in Amazon. She put something in our cart. If I wanted to get a backdrop for Hanukkah photos. So if people wanted to come through and get, with their family, you've got your family or you're alone, you're by yourself, and you want to take a beautiful picture of yourself, maybe to use in greeting cards or
Yes.
whatever, or just to put up on the wall. She said that that's an option too. She might do that. Anyway, lots of cool stuff going on. As I mentioned in the class, Betty Given Elisheva Tabor will be showing us about the lulav and the etrog. I have mine here. And I even ordered a special one for children, like a baby, like a little toy
Aw,
one. So if you have kids, let us know and we'll make sure that they have fun too. Look, it's going to be fun. Now, what else? What else can we talk about? How about some the teaching today? Anybody have any ideas that they wanted to talk about on that?
I think Pat Robbins had said
I'm listening. I'm going
on
to turn this in.
Ezekiel 37
Yep.
that she prays this. Where it says prophesy to the Ruach.
Yep.
She said she's been doing this for quite a while, and that impressed me that we can pray that Ezekiel 37 to happen.
Yeah.
To pray for it, to seek it, to desire it.
Yeah, and that's a good point to kind of kick things off in the dialogue. That passage is really remarkable because as the prophecy unfolds, the first thing that happens is the bones representative of the people of Israel begin to come together. But what Ezekiel sees is that skin, everything, if you were to look at what Ezekiel reports that he sees, they look alive, meaning their bodies now, they were skeletons, then their bodies, and they're together, but there's no life. And so he's told, prophesy to the wind, prophesy to the ruach, to the spirit, and say, Ezekiel is told, say, breathe upon these slain, and they come to life. Now, this is a valuable lesson. The first thing, remember, the first thing, what brings them together is hearing the word of Jehovah. Remember, there's a famine in the land, not of bread and water, but of hearing the word of Jehovah. Listen to me, the only thing that brings these people together is hearing the word of Jehovah, and that is found not in the commentaries of brilliant men, whether they be preachers or rabbis or writers. This is where the message that's going to open the ears of the deaf and open the eyes of the blind. It's this book. This is going to bring the people together. But guess what? That's not all they need. They have to have the Spirit. Look, it's clear. Isaiah 59. Let me go to Isaiah 59. One of my favorite passages. It's at the end of Isaiah 59. And it says, verse 21, Isaiah 59:21. As for me, this is my covenant with them, says the Lord, says Jehovah. This is Jehovah speaking. This is my covenant with them, says Jehovah. My spirit that is upon you, and my words which I have put in your mouth shall not depart out of your mouth, nor out of the mouth of your seed, nor out of the mouth of your seed, says Jehovah, from henceforth and forever. The covenant that Jehovah has with his people is this word and his spirit. So in Ezekiel 37, the recovenanting of his people is they have to hear the words of Jehovah and have the Spirit. You can hear this, not have the Spirit, right?
Yes.
And some might argue you can have the Spirit and not have this. I don't know. I mean, there are some people who I think maybe begin sort of in a charismatic move and they're really truly sincere. They reach out to God. God meets them. I don't know. I mean, God's bigger than we give him credit for. But ultimately, the covenanting requires both the word of Jehovah and the Spirit. So I think whenever we look at Ezekiel 37 and we see this coming together, it involves both. It involves both.
From a past existence, I'm talking about not another life like reborn type thing. As a younger person in a different orientation, I've heard this expression before, and I'm sure you guys have. I want to go to heaven, but not now.
Yeah, not today.
Not today. Some other time. Some other time. You know.
Right.
I'm good with the concept, but not today. Well, for the prophecy and for Ezekiel, I believe that you've got to sincerely want it, and that if it's right after you finish thinking about it, then that's perfect. I mean, now, let it be now.
Mm-hmm.
Not tomorrow, not the next day, next year, whatever. But let it be now. Let it happen now. And that's that hope that I think that brings it together because your heart is really into wanting it to happen now. It may not happen now. It may not happen for 100 years. Like Ross once said, a lot of people will lay down and close their eyes and never see it happen.
Yeah.
But
well,
wanting it now, somebody's going to remember you wanted it now.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, it'd be the ones that wakes you up.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Go ahead, Sherry. What were you going to say?
I'm just, thinking of the analogy I heard once about faith being like a vacuum. it's like when you sincerely believe the words you hear, and the Spirit is, inspiring you, that your faith, it's like a vacuum to bring things in to happen. I mean, it's faith is also part of it.
Yeah, like so many people who listen to me, I started off in a Christian orientation. And unlike some who are very sour about that, I'm very, very thankful. I grew up on the Bible. I mean, my childhood was filled with attending revival meetings and church every time the door was open. Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, revival day every night, But what it did, it oriented me to the Bible. And I fell in love with the text. I've always loved the story. I'm always thankful for being brought up in that environment. And I will be honest with you when I say, I think one of the things that is missing today, for better or for worse, as some might say, there's this idea that once we move into this Hebraic faith, and I'm using it in the broadest sense, it's an intellectual exercise. It's one where people they seek after head knowledge. I know a lot of people like this. They read books but they unfortunately leave behind this sincere prayer life, the singing songs and the praise and worship. They leave aside, and quite honestly, it bores me to death. Faith without this real connection with the one God, I'm sorry, to me it's just boring. Look, I've read some of the most intellectually stimulating books. I've read the works of some of the greatest scholars and sages, and I've learned a tremendous amount. But if we are at the place where this is only a head knowledge,
No, Ross,
we really have. We've lost it. If that's
true.
it.
That's
so
true.
If it's come to that, then as the song says, count me out.
There's another side to that for those of us that were not gifted with being able to sing and have people not throw rocks at us, is that one of the pleasures I get from my studies and reading and trying to learn is what I perceive as application, and that's showing kindness to others and charity and helping. It's amazing how good that makes you feel by doing that. It makes a whole world of difference. And not just doing it because you're being magnanimous or whatever, it's because you're actually commanded to do that.
Yeah.
And part of the righteousness is to show kindness and mercy.
Yeah, and I think
so when you do that, it brings it home, and there's a certain feeling like when you look in somebody's eyes and they're thankful for your help. They don't have to say it.
Yeah. The basis of the faith is walking the Torah. But I do believe that we have plenty of text, and this is what I'm feeling stirred that I'm probably going to preach from the revival tent Saturday night, is this idea that we have a message contained within the Hebrew Bible that sort of serves as a charge to go out to the ends of the earth and to proclaim the one God and His way. There is this other view that says I'm going to sit back, and if people come, they come. And I'm okay if that's the way people view in there. But for me, I want to reach the ends of the earth. I want to stand in a stadium with 150,000 people and preach Jehovah, Hu Ha Elohim, Jehovah, He is God. That's what the world needs. The world needs to know about the one God and His way. And I think that too many times people think that feels too much like something else. like, oh, that seems too Christian-y or whatever.
Renewed.
Oh, really? Well, you don't want to miss Saturday night in the tent then. That's all I got to say.
Well, for today, electronically, you're on the right track there, Russ.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
no,
you
I
may
get
not
you.
see the faces on there, but
Right.
they're out there.
Yeah,
And more growing every year.
And we have so many people in this group who've been at this a long time. Mark and I have been together for almost 30 years. When I met Mark, he was already knowledgeable about the Bible, and others the same. For decades, for 50 years, 60 years, we have people who've been studying these prophecies and these words. So it's not a new message. But it is renewed in the sense that I think people have recently, within the last few decades, I really do believe that a veil is being lifted, and I believe that the blind are beginning to see and the deaf are beginning to hear the words of a book. That, to me, is something that's quite amazing that's going on today.
Herbert Armstrong, back during when I was 14, 15 years old, being a good Baptist, I couldn't watch him, so I had to wait till the parent fell asleep, and at midnight or around midnight
Oh,
he
you
came
did
on
have
TV.
those shows, didn't you?
And he talked about the lost tribes, and this was very vague to me because I just didn't understand the concept back then.
Yeah.
But I remember him saying the words Ephraim.
Mm-hmm.
He taught this, maybe
Yep.
not as in depth,
Right.
as much knowledge, but even back then, he was preaching the tribes.
You could see in it.
He,
You were watching that, and I was watching MTV.
Yes.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
But think about that. In 1933,
Watch it Midnight Special.
Yeah. in the 30s, you had two voices. Herbert W. Armstrong. People can say what they want, and people have negative views and so forth, but the message, look at the message. Herbert W. Armstrong on what you might call the Christian side of things is declaring a message over radio. Families would sit around and listen. And at the same time, David Horowitz was pounding the pavement in the Jewish world saying, we need to proclaim this truth. Look, I have this that I printed out. I love this. This is from a book called, hang on, Conversion to Judaism, A History and Analysis by Eichhorn. And in Eichhorn's work, he talks about, some of you know this, he talks about the first, what he called a Jewish missionary organization, meaning it's a Jewish organization who's out trying to bring in converts, who is evangelizing the world. And so he said that David Horowitz in United Israel was the one group he knew of that was doing that. This is what he said. So he asked David Horowitz, hey, how'd you get to this place? And David said that something which really inspired him along his path was this quote. The quote is from Rabbi Isaac Moses, who lived from 1847 to 1926. This is Rabbi Isaac Moses, and this inspired David Horowitz. Listen to this. Quote, to be true to the spirit of our religion, true to the mission of Israel, which he received at Sinai, we must take practical, energetic measures to reclaim first the children of the household, to Judaize the Jews, and through them, directly and indirectly, draw within the sphere of our religious influence those of the non-Jewish population who hunger in truth for righteousness. In a word, we must enter upon a course of active propaganda, or, for lack of a better expression, to do missionary work within and without Judaism. Judaism is, by its very nature, a missionary religion, a social force, and an ethical movement. So he's saying, don't sit back. Go out into the highways and proclaim the message. This, in my opinion, and I know not everybody agrees with this, and you know, if I waited on people to agree with me, I would be waiting forever. But for me, I feel that this is essential. It's time. It is time to go out and proclaim the truth that God gave to his son, Israel, to proclaim to the ends of the earth. And I'm going to share with some people Saturday night. I believe this is what I'm going to share. It's what I feel led to share right now. And that is this evangelical approach to the Hebrew faith. And what better place to do that than in a tent? That's the way I look at it. I say set up the tent, bring it from town to town. So I hadn't been able to do that yet, but I can at least put a tent here and try it here.
It's not for the
The warm-up tour.
United Israel is actively trying to bring Joseph back to the Hebrew faith and others, other non-Jews. The Jewish people already have their faith and practice. I mean, it's not trying to evangelize them. It's trying.
Well, it's not converting them to something else, but let me add to that. Mark, you were fixing to jump in. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that it's pretty much what the Christians are trying to do now. They're trying to go and proclaim that the Son is the way back to Jehovah, back to God.
Yep.
And they almost got it right.
Yeah, it's a perspective
But
thing.
they are at least doing, they're going out and proclaiming to God what all of Israel is supposed to be doing.
Yep.
Which is ministers of God.
What is the gospel? What is the good news? And, you know, when you think about it, I have a good friend of mine who is a rabbi who leads services in his synagogue. Or, you know, he does regular Judaism, but he and I have some very candid conversations. And he is excited because non-Jews are proclaiming a faith that's rooted in the Hebrew Bible. And he's trying to encourage his parishioners to follow suit. In other words, he's teaching them classes. We're to be a light to the world. What does that mean?
Wow.
We're to be a covenant of the peoples. What does that mean? Should we sit in here and just communicate with one another, or should we be going out with it? Now, that to me is remarkable. I mean, look, we've had some wonderful conversations about this. So I tell you, I think that more people are beginning to think along these lines. And to me, it's very important that people begin to look at this and give it a good consideration. You know, think about it. What else we got today?
When you watch fine.
Huh?
I gotta know, you watch, talk to you in the middle of the service.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I shut her down. Siri in the middle of my
You can't
talk.
get it back? You can't get it back?
I don't think so. But in
Well,
know
once
what
you
you were
say, I
talking
don't want to
about.
talk to you, that's it. It's done.
yeah, in the middle. If you don't know what he's talking about, I was teaching, and I got a little excited, and Siri from my watch said, "Here's what I found on that," and I said, "I got this, Siri. Maybe I should have looked."
That's what I'm saying, you know, come on.
It might have been a message from somebody important.
Could have been, and I just silenced
If
it.
a donkey stuck his head in the door and said something, I'd be out.
Well, yeah, you
That's a
know,
good
it's just
point.
an electronic device. I
Package that
mean,
you got in the mail that
you know,
next
for
day.
the creator of the universe, manipulating an electronic device is a piece of cake.
But just so the
Rush,
world,
shut it down.
you know, just so the world knows, this is a good. I brought up sort of a personal story this morning. When Mark and my other friend Dennis walked into my house, you know, our first meetings were around a common love for things biblical. And just by bringing up this idea about Ephraim, it changed the course of my life. I mean, think about that. And so I'm thankful to Mark and thankful to people that have been friends forever with me. Because we've grown together in this. We certainly don't have it all figured out. I wouldn't say that I'm even close, But it's good to have long-standing friends. So thank you, Mark. It's good to see you here after almost 30 years, huh?
Well, that's not quite the way to put it, Ross. He's been here before.
Yeah.
It's been his turn, let's put it that way.
Yeah. So it really is a remarkable walk that we're on, and it's great to have fellowship through the modern means of technology, and I want to see this expand. Look, I'm telling you, I want to get to the place. I pray about this a lot when I'm alone up here. What else can I do? How can we reach more people? We're using Facebook, we're using YouTube. I would love to have the ability to live stream audio. I love audio. I'm not a huge fan of video. People can tell you that. Because like I say, I'm not doing tricks up here. I'm just a talking head. Audio to me is very powerful. You brought it up, Sherry. There is a passage, it's from the New Testament, Christian writings. Faith comes by hearing, hearing the Word of God. I think that's true. I think that our voices ought to be going out over air all over. I mean, I would like to be on Sirius FM. I would like to, we're not going to do anything. Our funds don't allow us to do, we're doing what we can, and that's all we need to do. But I would love to see it to the place where we can reach more and more and more and more people, a bigger audience.
It'll develop one day.
Yeah.
But the other thing is too, it's just, the video satisfies a certain element of the group of people that likes the video. In other words, I have heard that there are folks out there in it's not television land and in computer world that watch us that really like these talk sessions.
Yeah.
And get disappointed after the presentation if there's not it's not round, but a table discussion.
Right.
Because they can chime in too.
Yeah,
Through Facebook
they feel like
or
part of the
YouTube.
group.
There's chat that,
That's always been a struggle to keep up with the text. Text is a tough deal.
yeah.
We've even tried bringing audio in, telephone calls. We've done,
We're gonna have some fun
We're gonna
during
try.
Sukkot when everybody shows up. This is gonna be a crowd.
Yeah, and it is tough, like Dave said. I'm not as good at watching the text as I should. I go back and read them.
If we were fishermen and we were trying to figure out what's the best way to catch fish, we tried just about every bait we could come up with in our head.
Yep.
Yeah, but
But
it's
the
not
truth
always
is-
the bait.
But the truth is, you just gotta be out there.
That's right. You got to hold your mouth the right way.
And then too, there's that intuition which I associate with the leading of the Ruach. I know my brother was an excellent fisherman, and he just had this uncanny. I mean, he had the knowledge.
He could smell them, man.
Yeah.
Could smell the fish,
Well,
but
also
he
it
had
depends
this uncanny ability to find them.
I think it's when that point where the
Consistency.
creator wakes, that gives you that. It's not like attention, everybody. I've just made
Yeah.
the call.
Yeah.
I guess he picks, and I'm just guessing here, times in people's lives when they're
They're
ready.
open.
The
When they're
Oriental saying,
open.
the old Oriental
Yeah.
saying that when the student is ready, the teacher
Yeah.
will appear.
Mm-hmm.
So when you've gone through those trials and tribulations, and your mind and your heart are in the right place,
See,
maybe that's when he touches
See, that's
you.
what I'm talking about, the vacuum.
When
Like
it's not so
faith
much
is like
us,
a
we're
vacuum.
here, and then when
Yeah.
when he hits those people and they find this, they go, oh, interesting, and so then they get to learn more about the Bible.
Yeah.
Well, my question, go ahead, David.
No, I'm just, the subject is who are we reaching and how can we reach more and so on and so forth. And, I've always felt we're reaching, because of who we are, we're reaching a certain population. We're not trying to reach Jews. We're not trying to reach this, although everybody's welcome.
Yeah.
But there's a particular group that we're reaching here. And if you get them all in the same room, which we have before, we're all similar. We all came from the same ideology. We all have like experiences. So I mean, how many
Yeah.
of those
Okay,
are there out there?
so that's a good lead-in point to what I was gonna
Okay.
say, because I'm finding, okay, y'all, since I'm not in the charismatic Christian thing anymore, I have felt a freedom to befriend people from my past that
Yeah.
some of them are atheists.
Mm-hmm.
And to hang out with them or have discussions with them is awkward, and it's hard sometimes, but I've been asking lately if there can be seeds planted, because I get the feel these people are righteous in their acts and they have a sense of justice and righteousness and freedom, and they've become very disillusioned with religion and the whole thing. So I'm thinking, is this profitable for me to be still be friends with these
Be in their
people?
presence.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I know when they go in for surgeries or when they go in, you know, that they have a tragedy or something, they will talk to me. So, you know, it's led me to believe that maybe they aren't totally turned off to God.
Well, yeah, that's, you know, yeah. It's always the case, you know.
Bullets start flying, people all of a sudden have a different perspective on things.
But you're
But,
gonna meet you're
yeah.
gonna meet
Yeah.
people who are in different places, and I think you're gonna be a great
Availability.
witness to those people.
Availability is.
I hope so.
You know.
And the people that we reach can touch other people. And so that's a lot for those units that are developing in various places around the world, where they're gathering together and they have their prayer meetings, and they're, you know, watching United Israel on Saturday mornings and that sort of thing. So it's, you know, you can tell, hey, I'm just the janitor around here, but I help with the calendars. And so in the last 3 years, I've seen we had, you know, X number of calendars, and then the next year it doubled, and then this last year it doubled. And I told Ross, after we sent out 250 or whatever it was, you know, if we're gonna need more help next year.
Yeah.
I can't stuff enough of those envelopes to get them out on time. So, I mean, it's growing, the number of people that are showing an interest and that want to get into this faith-based movement. It's been around for thousands of years, and it's a reawakening. It's growing. It's getting bigger. People
Yeah.
are waking up.
And we do what we can with what we have, and when we have, we look for ways to do more. Just someone had commented, I wish that the discussions were on audio as well. So right now, well, I can do it, but I tell you why I don't. It's really this simple. I pay for a package that allows me to put up my weekly class, and it really amounts to about, I never go over, but I'm not much under. So by putting up in a month 4 storaged classes at, you know, however many megs it is for each one, that's what we can afford at this time. I have the files. I mean, it's no big deal. We could easily record these sessions and post them as well. And when the time is right, when we have the financing, we'll do that. But it would just be more than what we need, you know, more than what we have. What's that?
On the website, you mean?
Yeah, because
It's
what,
on YouTube, I mean, you know, YouTube has.
yeah, the YouTube has the audio and video, but I think some people like to download through iTunes or their devices just the audio so they can listen to it, you know, in a different format. So we do what we can with what we have, and it's, you know, look, we're doing everything we can. So it's just like I told these guys. By the way, keep in prayer. We were told that our rent's going up, and so it caused us, it was like several of us had an interesting, same idea, different days, but on Yom Kippur, John and Lyndon came up here. Dave had mentioned there's a library, an old library in town, gorgeous building.
He
It
says,
looks
"Why don't
like
you
a
guys?" He asked me,
synagogue.
"Why don't you guys look into that?" And then that's when we came. I talked with Lennon. We came and talked to you.
So we went on Yom Kippur. We took the ride right down the street, and we went down here to the old historic district. It's not far from the old synagogue. And this beautiful building is vacant. And if it's God's will, I mean, we don't know. It might be too much money. Who knows? It might be less than we're paying with the increase in our rent. Our rent went up a couple of $100 a month effective this month. So we just have to, look, I'm open to whatever, but man, that's a cool building.
It is.
It's just like the teaching you had today. You know, you can't just sit around and wait for it to happen. Your teaching was, what do we need to do?
Well-
Not so much to make it happen, but what can we do to prepare ourselves?
And we
before it
explore,
happens?
and then it depends on if it's the will of God or not that we move in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, we're not even, this is just a thought.
Yeah, we have a thought, and you can either act on it or do nothing. So
It's a
You never
matter
know,
of,
could be an
it's a
inspired
matter
thought.
of,
I'm inspired. That looks pretty good.
it's an opportunity. And you either have to be, you have to see that opportunity and act upon it. If you don't, you know, I'm talking about teaching.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about so much the building, but yeah.
So United Israel has this sort of as a foundation. We've talked about it locally, and the board also agrees with this. Here's what we want to continue to do, and we will continue to do this. Everything we do, every teaching we do has got to be available for no charge,
That's right.
right? So
It's the best quality we can get.
the best quality we can do for no charge to people. Here's what Ross Nichols won't do. I'm not going to set up a deal where it says you can get most of what I do at no charge, but if you join my special little group and pay money,
I hate that.
I'll give you this.
Right, the keys to the kingdom, yeah.
Special. So I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
And look, I know there are people who do that, and you know, I'm sorry if somebody gets offended, but I believe that if we're doing what we should be doing, and it's beneficial to people, we'll have enough to do what we need to do, and we won't ever even have to do that kind of thing. So that's the goal. So it's been the same with the businesses, with our locations. We stayed there for 6 or 7 years
When
and then
you
moved
say
over
there,
here.
you gotta help them out.
Right across the street in the other building.
It's much smaller room.
Much smaller, but in the past, since
Studio.
2007, we have paid more than $140,000 on rent, you know, for a space. So anyway, we're just thinking, look, we've put a lot into this. What is God going to open up for us next? We might be here another 5 years. We might be down the street. Who knows? But the end result is that whatever we teach, whatever we share, people, the end user, as we say, gets it free. They don't have to pay for it. So
It's not, we're not bragging or anything. It's just a matter of fact. I can recall times when we said, well, if it happens, it happens. And it did happen. It's always happened. We've always done what?
He won't share. My computer died. I was
Oh, did it?
You were trying to show me something.
No. I just wanted a little bit different angle so I could read it. You read it too.
Ronnie said on here, what is new, as you say, the eyes of some being opened, this is new for me. Most of my 78 years had a Bible in my hands, but with too many questions from my theological upbringing, a joy for others see God as the Echad through Armstrong and others bit by bit. I've cleared up any questions of which road I'm on. Shalom, love this group. What is new, as you say, the eyes of some being open. Look, I might have skipped something here. Let's see. But anyway, the idea is that people are finding us and they relate because, as I've said, I don't consider this a teacher and a bunch of students. The group that's being drawn to us are basically all teachers. I mean, these are people who've studied the scriptures for decades, and it helps us to come together and edify one another, really, you know, help each other out. We have people praying for prayer needs. We have people who are good support. We have people that have met one another, and their main friendships come from this group. That's a joy to my heart. You know, people who are alone, they're not able to get out, can join in online and make friends.
And for whatever reason, there's been a lot of people that came along for a period of time and no longer see her here probably. I think you
Yeah.
telling about somebody that had been away for a long time and came back and,
Yeah.
and was saying, where y'all at now or something like
Right.
that. What building y'all in now? You know, so,
Yeah.
you know, we're always going to have, you know, a small group of parents. We've been doing this for a long enough time where, you know, and I think we've kind of settled for that. I know you want more.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that, but I am saying that what we are doing, we are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're reaching out, doing everything we can to
And that
reach the
group is
world.
growing. It really is getting bigger.
Sure.
It's just we don't see them because they're in Canada or down in Florida.
You know, or like I say, for YouTube, there's no way of really knowing how many people are really actually watching.
Yeah.
We really, you know,
Yeah.
Speaking of YouTube, hi Tim Nettleton. I don't
Yeah.
usually get to read the YouTube comments, and I didn't know that you've been tuning in.
There
and
you
I
go.
wish you were here for Sukkot.
Who's it?
Tim Nettleton. He said, "Love you, Ross, Dave, and Sherry."
Well, you know, we've got the beautiful thing, and I'm excited when I see, like, Timothy says, I'm 31 years old. I'm 31 years old, and United Israel is unique in focusing only on Tanakh without the baggage of Talmud, New Testament. And so, look, when I meet and see younger people coming into this, I love, no matter who it is, but the passion that I have is to reach the world. And look, I hope to live to be 120, but I want to know that 31-year-olds are coming in and they're
Yes.
saying, I can base a live faith, a living faith on these words, and that's where it starts. It starts with who is that next group coming up? Look, there are plenty of people who are agnostic, who are atheists, who are this, who are that. Where is that next wave coming up? Who is the Mark Lloyd of 2019? You know, when we met in the 90s, who's that guy now that
Yeah,
was
waking
us? Where is that? Or girl, gal, not guy, excuse me.
I wish we had a photograph of every person that's ever been in touch with this ministry and on the wall and a map of little tags of what countries, and you know, I'd love to see all that kind of stuff. It takes time to do that, but
Jehovah knows.
the point I'm trying to make is that we spend a lot of time in the now.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do a lot of prep, and we don't do a lot of. I mean, I'm not saying you don't study.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
What,
your
you're
own deal.
discounting all the hours of makeup and everything that we did ahead of time?
Yeah.
Rehearse.
The rehearsals and.
We tried to do what I called a canned show one time, where Ross had a particular
Oh, I remember that.
thing to say and a certain amount of time to do it. We, you know, action, boom.
That was the biggest. I wish we could show that now. Dave, let me tell you. So Dave and I had this, let's do this. Dave and I had this idea. I do take notes. I do follow notes when I teach, but it's not like I read, you know. But so we were going to do a Show Enough commercial. This was all human effort, and we were going to reach the world with it. And so
10 minutes or something like that.
yeah, it was
15
short.
minutes.
It was short, and Dave and I are used to working together. He knows he can go live on the camera, and I can say, hey, welcome, and I can get into it. But I wrote down what I was going to say, and I got up there, and Dave's ready, and I was nervous. I was like, man,
This is
'cause
him in the room.
yeah, it's just us. And I didn't, you know, I've never really followed a script. So he'd say, you ready? I'd say, yeah. And then he'd say, go, and I'd go,
You were just like me that time y'all asked me to teach,
oh yeah.
and all I had was notes, and it's
We
like,
finally just, you know, we just said, look, we ain't gonna do that.
I can't do canned speeches and we just can't do it.
Yeah,
You know?
it's got
Very
to be,
difficult.
From the heart.
it has to be from the heart. It has to be genuine. And what we want to do every week is turn that camera on at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time and say, Shabbat Shalom, welcome. I am glad you're here. Let's talk Bible. I think that there's something in that genuineness that people can pick up on. If I get up here and I have a canned message or a sermon or whatever, it's just not, it's
No,
not real,
they're
it's
gonna
not
go,
gonna work.
Yeah, they're
And
gonna
it's the
turn
same
you off.
aspect, you're not shooting from the hip, so to speak.
Yeah.
You have prepared your lesson.
Mm-hmm.
You do come prepared every time. It's not like I have to figure out how to do what I'm doing every time. We've gotten into a situation, but you study and do all that. I've heard you talk about your son. I've told you before when you had something else
Yeah.
to do, it messed up with your study time, so to speak.
Yeah.
And they say, "Oh, just shoot, just
Wing it.
wing it, Dad." You know.
Seth told me that one time. He's like, hey, can you do such and such? I said, not on Fridays, man. Fridays is when I, really buckle down and get my class ready. He said, you've been doing this my whole life. He said, just wing it. I said, you don't just wing Jehovah's work. You
Yeah,
don't do it.
Yeah, I think that's
He kind of
exactly-
missed that part,
Yeah,
huh? It's
yeah.
like, this
I
isn't just
think
your
that's
daddy.
That's exactly what the teacher was about today. It was like, how to not wing it, but how to be real, how to be spontaneous, and how to do stuff. That's what the Bible's telling us we're going to do
Yeah,
at some point. So, live your life as it's alive.
yeah,
Don't so much, stress about how you do it. I mean, I've been through the situation where, what can we do to bring the Messiah in?
Mhm.
What do we need to do?
Yeah.
It's not to say we shouldn't do anything. I'm just saying.
yeah. It can't be manufactured, so to speak.
You can't.
I'm pretty sure that the
We're not good
Almighty
at
will
faking.
determine when and where things are gonna happen when He's ready.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not necessarily when we're ready.
You would hope.
Well, just say there's something somewhere written down that says the eye is not seen or the ear heard.
There's some of your New Testament coming out.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
Paul.
it's
All that
but there's
Yeah.
prepared for those that
but
love him.
I will say this: I think that Jesus
Yeah.
was a very good teacher,
Yeah,
And he
very
came,
learned and very good.
and
Yeah.
he came proclaiming this gospel of turn to Jehovah, love him.
Well, he's the one that says you're not going to know
It's
when
not
God's
all the
going to show. He's going to show up when
traditions,
He's ready,
man's
not when you're ready.
traditions. Well, Ross, this teaching that you're doing, I think is so, it's this foundational teaching you're doing is so good. It's the tools. It's, Dave and I have been studying with you for a while, and just getting, like you said, faith comes by hearing and hearing from the words of God.
mm-hmm.
It's the tools in the tool belt. I'm finding myself more and more desiring to share this knowledge with
Yeah.
anyone that I see an opening with. And it's the tools.
Yeah, I think we sort of piggybacking off of that and something that Timothy said here. I think that it's important for me. So consider this as you wish, Timothy. I do respect your knowledge. I would say directly to you, if you'll allow, just as a friend, it's very important when you begin to study these things that the foundation is certainly in the Torah. The reason that I believe and that you can consider studying the rest of the Nevi'im and the Ketuvim, the prophets and the writings, is that if you take a fundamentalist approach, the Torah, the events described therein roughly go to 3,500 years ago, right? So say 1500 BCE, 1450 roughly. I know people debate dates, but just work with me here. So if that's the case, in Devarim, in Deuteronomy, it talks about that God would not leave His people guessing, that He would raise up for them a prophet like Moses who would bring them further guidance, if you will, Deuteronomy 18. Mm-hmm. And what we know is that history didn't stop with the Torah. In fact, with the Torah, you don't even have the land of the people occupying the land, right? They haven't even gone in and settled the land. They're on the lip of the land. So for me, the reason that it's important is that God's word in the Torah is true and confirmed, and we have to follow through. We read the historical books, we read through Joshua, Judges, Samuel, Kings, on into the prophets, and what we get, I believe, is a continuation and a confirmation of God's words in the Torah, where we see these things played out. So for me, the words of the prophets are confirming and they're encouraging and admonishing the people to follow the ways of God. You get the good, the bad, and the ugly. Look, the Hebrew Bible is the most incredible book that's ever been written. I love it. I study it from various angles. I study it from the fundamentalist views. I read it in the original language, but I also read academic works about it, which challenge some of those things. It's important to study the whole, I believe.
It is. And you even brought up the Proverbs 33,
Yeah.
verse 3 and 4. To me, you know, it reminds me of Jerry Moretta
Yep.
Harris. She's always posting these encouraging psalms,
Yep.
Proverbs. And I look at the proverb, and it's like that thing that I've been missing, this outward expression, talking to Jehovah, using these proverbs, these psalms
Yeah,
of adoration and respect.
Right.
And just, you know, you're communicating with your heavenly Father, your Creator.
yeah.
And these words are beautiful, and they're powerful. You know, I love singing Psalm 1,
Yeah,
and it's to Him.
yeah, that's right. If you look at, like, for me, I'm not a big fan of museums. I mean, I like museums because they have historical things. But I like walking, and I'm talking in particular in Israel. Israel Museum is one of the most fantastic museums in the world. There are artifacts all over the place. I love to walk through it, don't get me wrong. What I really like is walking through the desert at night. And I'm looking at Botzra from Isaiah. I'm standing in a place where I know the tribes of Israel passed through. To me, there's a realism there, and it's the same with the text. I love the text. I love the historicity. I love all of that documentation. But I also know that it's describing the faith walk of various people, their failures, their successes, their faith. But guess what? This can become like a museum. It's recording history, call it sacred history. People argue over the definition of history, but it's recording the sacred history. But you know what? David cried out to Jehovah. I cry out to Jehovah. You cry out to Jehovah. It has to be that we somehow know this, but we know this to live this. And if this book proclaims prophetic things in the Torah and the prophets and the writings, and it looks forward to events that will transpire, they could happen in our day. We have to look at this as these were people of faith in their day. We are people in our day of faith. You've got to be able to take this and internalize it. Ezekiel is given a scroll to eat. He eats the scroll. He takes in the words. Jeremiah, a hand touches his mouth and he eats the words. I'm telling you to eat these words, but then live your life. Live a life of faith. Be a person of faith. We read about Noah, he was righteous in his generation. That's a good story. John, now you be a man of righteousness in your generation. Ross, be a man. You see, it's that, yes, learn it, but live it. If we're learning simply to gain head knowledge, to win a trivia game, then a group of unfortunate people we've become.
Well, it's also an exam, everything in there, there's not I don't believe in my reading of the scriptures that and it's entirely possible for somebody else that's more dynamic. I don't think it would be possible for me to make a mistake that wasn't listed in there, a human mistake. Everything that you could possibly do wrong, personal relationship, financial, you name it, it's in there.
Yeah.
And it's examples when you read that and you go, well, I did that. Wait a minute. He was forgiven for that. Well, maybe there's a chance for me.
Yeah.
You know, and
It's encouraging.
yeah, well, I wouldn't have done that. Well, maybe it's good to know, because if the situation ever comes up, you go, hey, wait a minute, I read about it. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
That won't work out.
Yeah.
So, it's lessons for life,
Yeah,
but you gotta live.
that's right.
Take those lessons and apply them to your life and go forward.
I think the Bible is, to me, it's become, David Horowitz often referred to it as the blueprint, sort of a blueprint of life. And I think we ought to think like that, It provides the way. It gives the guidance and the direction. But we have to actually, at some point, get out and live it. Think about, as you go into this week, as we begin to approach Sukkot, a time of ingathering, if you will. And we look forward to seeing many of you here, and for many of you who can't come to see us here live on some videos. But as you go into the week, think about this idea of every head up, every eye open.
Wow.
Because I want you to think that the counter to that, every head bowed, every eye closed, I'm not making fun. I understand what they're saying there, but I think that's put the world to sleep. It has exacerbated, it has made worse the problem of the slumber, and it's time for people to wake up. It's now that people are coming together, hearing the words of Jehovah. Now we need to pray that the Spirit would blow upon these bones, blow upon these slain that they might live. And that's where we're at, I believe. More and more people are waking up to the truth. It's happening every day. The internet is making this go exponential. I mean,
And what you said is in there, it's like, lift up your eyes unto the hills.
yeah, where does my help come from?
Look,
Yep.
lift up your eyes and look.
Look, I remember going with a pocket full of dimes to the library in Baton Rouge, to that little Judaica section at Goodwood,
Copying.
and making copies of articles of the Jewish Encyclopedia. And now I can make a cup of coffee and say, oh, wait, come to my computer and type in JewishEncyclopedia.com.
Amazing.
It's done. Or ask my watch.
I was there a few months ago,
Remind you.
and you have a bigger Judaic library here than they can even possibly conceive at the one in Goodwood, in the modern library.
That's
I
right.
was there and looked, there's
Yeah.
not much there.
Yeah, we've assembled a few books over the last few years, and a lot of these have been read. And look, it's a quest for knowledge is very important. Knowledge is the intake of information. I'm always working on that piece. This is not. This is for all of us, but I'll just tell you for personal. I'm always looking to intake knowledge, to learn. But if I learn and I'm unable to understand, interpret, and to transfer that knowledge, see, because you have understanding comes after knowledge. You can have knowledge and not really understand what you know. And if you have understanding and pray for wisdom, wisdom is when you can impart what you've learned and understood to others. So I pray for wisdom, not just for me, but for our group, so that we might know and understand
And be able to.
and be able to
communicate
share it.
Yeah.
That's the key. Because otherwise, you know,
Well, before he went south for the winter, isn't that what Solomon asked for?
yeah.
Was the wisdom to rule?
Mm-hmm.
God was so impressed with his request that I'll give you anything you want. He said, give me the wisdom to rule. And he was so impressed that he gave him everything else he possibly could.
Yeah, and it ruined the boy, didn't it?
Yeah, ruined the boy. Now, don't do that to your kids.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. By the way, speaking of kings, if you get a chance, listen to the new series Kingdom Chronicles with Jono and I. We're having fun. We've done 3. The third one will be posted probably Monday, Tuesday, U.S. time. But we did an outtakes where we sort of debated a little bit off of lesson 2. So show 2 has you have episode 1, episode 2, episode 2B, I guess you'd say, and then episode 3. Those are fun, they're informative, but I think that over the course of that dialogue, we're going to get into some pretty good things too. So I encourage you, if you have time, listen to those. And then I'm also, just to let you know, I'm always thinking about what else can we do in terms of other maybe weekly shorter series that people could load and listen to. So, but the biggest thing right now is we've only got a few days until the conference here. Don't forget, it's coming up.
Coming up.
You
I
can
want to
make
put a
it.
plug in for your, is it, TKC?
The Kingdom Chronicles, yeah.
Is that everybody gets busy, right? So going to the webpage, I was able to find, or going onto the internet, I was able to find the Kingdom Chronicles. And on the Day of Atonement, when we weren't doing anything particular that afternoon, after we did the library thing and did our prayers and all that good stuff, Lynn and I sat down and listened to those two radio presentations back to back.
Yep.
And so it's kind of like when you get into a series and you get hooked. Well, we're hooked.
Okay.
So for those of you that haven't done it, it's logged in on the internet. Go find the Kingdom Chronicles. Sorry about that. Go find the Kingdom Chronicles. Did I mess you up over there? Pounding on the table. Look, Khrushchev, take my shoe off.
Yeah.
But go check out the Kingdom Chronicles and listen to it. It's really, really interesting. I think you guys will like it.
It's fun, so thanks
is.
for that plug. Yeah, that was, I didn't even pay him for that, so there you go.
So
I'll tell you what,
on the
got some cookies or
on
something.
the knowledge theme, it made me think of the Hosea 4 verse. My people are destroyed
for lack of knowledge. Hosea 4:6. Yeah, it's and he goes on to say some pretty gruesome things.
Yeah.
Because you've forgotten me, I've forgotten your
And
children.
rejected.
It's look, we've got a long way to go, but it's good company. And I am thrilled to be with all of you. I consider the people who log in on Saturday mornings here as part of a family, really. Some of us have never even met in person, but, you know, I really, really value the fact that you invest time with us because I feel like I know everyone on here.
It's a two-way road there. It's a matter of inspiration. Just one, you know, hopefully you're inspiring people and like for people who are paying attention and that inspires you to keep doing it. It's a snowball thing.
It does.
And you know, it's kind of what we've always hymned on, and it seems to work.
Yeah.
You know, I think if we were, how do you measure success? I mean, how do you do that? I mean, do you do it by numbers? I mean, we've always tried to keep up with numbers here and there. At times we didn't. How do we say we're successful or not successful? And the truth of the matter is we don't.
We've often said that if one little person out there was logging in, we would do it.
That's right.
Oh,
You know.
man.
Think about Father Noah. I mean, he had nobody to tell him you're doing a good job except God, and all he did was he swung that hammer, and he and his boys, they built the ark, and everybody's ridiculing him about, look at goofy Noah over there, you know. And so, how do you measure success? I don't know. Just do what you're supposed to do and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do. When it really comes down to it, you know, what's that, there's a scripture about who builds the house?
Yeah, if the Lord doesn't build the house, they that labor in vain.
Yeah. So,
I think that's Proverbs.
What were you going to say, Sherry?
Oh, I was just, thinking about how busy the week is ahead of us. Now I'm seeing Baton Rouge archaeology, and they're having a big thing at the main library on what discoveries that have been discovered here in Baton Rouge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Baton Rouge archaeology Wednesday.
Fun stuff. So it's going to be a busy week. Keep us in your prayers here. We look forward to meeting some of you in person this coming weekend. Got a lot to do here. I'm looking around this room and I'm thinking, man, it's got to be totally transformed. Bridget told me she's coming up here Tuesday as a work day. We're going to get this place sparkling clean. Look, if you're local, and by local I mean if you're within 1,000 miles and you get good gas mileage and you want to come up here and help clean up, feel free.
A couple days early.
Now, Dave tells me I have a job. This is your job. You got it. So but anyway, Tuesday is the day. I'm going to be up here early, and I want to do inside and outside. I want this place to be sparkling. Thursday afternoon, they're setting up the tent. I'll probably start this weekend, probably tomorrow. Tomorrow's Bridget's birthday. I have to make a nice dinner. But I've got to get the tables out of the way and get chairs set up in here for a big crowd. So, but I'm not doing any of that until I mop this floor and clean. I did earlier in the week change light bulbs and cleaned out all the overhead lighting. And so we're getting ready for you. And we hope you can show up. If you can make it, come on and join us. So
Next week's dialogue ought to be exciting.
oh man, this is going to be fun. That's right. That's right. So feel free to join us, and if you can't
Be like a
here
big
in
family
person,
reunion.
be here online. Yeah, and Vicki, an older local library. Yeah, I am really, look, I don't know. I mean, I've always just left it up to Jehovah.
Right.
But if Jehovah really wanted us to have that library in town, that would be really nice, I think. So I'm going to let Jehovah handle that. I've messaged the people and told them that I'm at least interested before I sign a lease and get into a higher rent. Just see. That is a cool place. Dave came in this morning and he said, you know, that just looks like a synagogue. It really does. In fact, I'll post pictures. I'll send some pictures.
Lots of room on the inside.
It's like 6,000 square feet. It's really cool.
Red brick.
Red brick, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The only thing I
arches
don't
on
like
it.
is flat roof. Louisiana flat roof is not a good idea. But it seems to be okay.
As long as we don't buy the roof, we're
That's right.
We may buy the whole thing.
good. Well, if we buy the roof, it might.
All right, so Shabbat Shalom, Shavua Tov, get ready for Sukkot. You are commanded by Jehovah to rejoice for 7 days. Don't miss this commandment. If I could, I can't think of a better commandment. A commandment to rejoice. You're commanded to love Jehovah with your whole heart and soul, and you're commanded to rejoice. So everybody that's sour or bitter, or you have something negative going on, somehow between now and the kickoff of Sukkot, you got to get rid of that thing. You got to get happy.
Yes.
And I'm encouraging you along the way. So have a beautiful week. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks everybody for showing. And we'll see you next week right here. Friday evening, Friday night,
Friday
right
night.
here. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Shavua
Shalom,
Tov.
y'all.